Hello, 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 and welcome to Survivor Debrief. My name is Eden Porter, the lucky loser from Survivor Titans versus Rebels. And with me, as always, is my comedic partner and real-life brother, Joshua Porter. Joshua, welcome.
We did it. We made it to the end of 47, all the way right through. It's good to have another finale.
We're dressed to impress here.
We are.
We're dressed to impress. It is the finale.
Yes.
So we wanted to look our best this evening. But yeah, we made it. This is the end, my friend. We're all the way here. And look, it's an interesting episode, the whole.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it right now. Was it a little anticlimactic once Rachel won immunity?
I think so. The fire was awesome, but
The fire was awesome.
I sort of came in thinking Rachel was going to win. I was kind of the whole time, I was like, I don't really see her losing this at all. And then for Sam to get through and the sort of yarn he was spinning around the underdog, I thought maybe there's a chance. I
think the edit did a really good job of making you feel like, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Sam could have a sniff here. There could be something. There could be a couple of votes and stuff like that. But ultimately, yeah, it was all for naught when we had a 7-1-0 final result. But at the end of the day, that's the game, people. And Rachel played an awesome game.
That was the votes. It was 7-1-0.
7-1-0.
Okay, gotcha.
At the end, that's how it panned out. But let's just go back to the start of this episode. Let's just break it down a little bit. We start off with Jeff. Basically, at that first challenge, Jeff was really twisting the knife. One of you is gonna lose. One of you's dream will be destroyed. Like Jeff was, I don't know.
He's been into that stuff all season.
Yeah,
the drama, building up the drama. It's this weird thing as well because then he's like so compassionate when they go out and everything. It's like, oh, I don't know. And then he's building up these moments. Like, this is gonna be the worst moment of your life. If you lose this, your life's gonna suck.
Now this is a chance to have a word puzzle, right? And word puzzles are hard, man. You either get them or you don't. I honestly feel like some people's brains just don't work to word puzzles.
I think that stage underfed, underslept for so long. I think doing those kind of things becomes way more difficult. Yeah,
exactly. And then Sam absolutely smashed that to the point. And do you like the little cover up? They've done that a few times now.
Yeah.
Because it does get lame. I don't like when people look at other people's puzzles.
Well, that's what Teeny just did.
Yeah, she's like, oh yeah, it's that, and it's just like, oh, okay.
I really don't like it either because I'm like, but work hard and figure it out for yourself. So it's a little bit, but also it's like I like that they just let it happen. It's like whatever, like you need to.
Yeah, they're not going to go stop. Well, once you see it, you see it. Like it's like you can't go. No, stop. And then Sam and Teeny started looking at Rachel's puzzle. But the more you're looking at someone else's puzzle, the less you're doing yours.
Yeah, a puzzle like that, it doesn't seem that valuable unless you're looking for a specific shaped piece that you're like, I need to find out this shaped piece. What shape does that look like? Because then you still got to go and rifle through your things. One thing I did want to mention about the challenges though. Like pretty much this whole, most of it, I've noticed they've had the puzzle at the end of the challenge, right? It's just been a challenge. And so consistently, that's favored Rachel, it's favored Jen and a few different people because they've been able to do puzzles.
Yeah.
And it sort of occurred to me, I was like, you never really see any physical challenge that is so difficult that people just get stuck on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's almost unfair because if you're a very physical player, your strength is wiped out by the puzzle. But if you're a strong puzzle player, you will get through the physical thing. You'll just, it doesn't like completely stop you in a way that a puzzle can.
So the idea, the new era, sort of more and more, especially with American Survivor, more and more of the challenges are based on, you know what? Let's incorporate all three things. Let's do a balance part, let's do a strength part, and let's do a puzzle because that's fair. That's everyone gets the chance to. So the strength people will get ahead on the strength, and the puzzle people will get ahead on the puzzle. But ultimately, you're right. The strength part is never strong enough that you just can't do it.
No,
it just takes forever. And
imagine that they just had something so heavy that you physically couldn't move it, and you're like, great.
There was a challenge we did with the sled. You had to pull a sled of sandbags, and if we had honestly voted out Nathan and Jaden in the first two episodes, we wouldn't have been able to move that. Like it was that heavy. I was surprised. Like I was there pushing really hard.
Was this the one like the logs, the rolling?
This is the log. This is the push log one.
Yeah, that was heavy duty.
And that was really heavy. And so it is that that's Australian Survivor does that a bit more. Like Australian Survivors, the strength things are really strong. But I think you're right. I think maybe it's time to to go back to, you know what, this is just an obstacle course where you got to collect things. So a fit person's going to do good at that. This is just a puzzle. This is just this. Because, it was interesting that Sam got the word search really, really quickly.
Yeah.
But then ultimately you just couldn't get the puzzle done. I think that was so close.
Yeah. The only thing that happens sometimes is like a basketball shot or something like that, or a throw and hit a target. They're sort of the ones that people might get stuck on. I guess we did see it with the sandbag toss onto the puzzle where they got really, really stuck and it fell in a bad way. It was like going, it fell in a bad way and they just could not get it. And I'm like, that did suck because that was just like, this is so hard to watch. But I think, if you're going to have a puzzle at the end of everything, I like the idea of incorporating them all, but I think you need to have some more showstoppers, because even though I would fall into the people, I like the people who can do puzzles, and I feel a bit sorry for those people who like, that's just not a skill of theirs and they will just get every time, even if they get there first, they just get wiped out.
Yeah, and look, I don't mind incorporating different parts of the challenge, but maybe the strength part needs to be, you know what would be interesting is maybe you need to do fork in the road sort of stuff. And they've done it a couple of times. So you go, there's a strength thing that you can do like that, or there's a puzzle that you could sit down and do. And then the puzzle people are like, I will not be able to do the strength part. So I will, it's sort of like, this is Amazing Race style. This is a detour. This is a choice between two tasks. One with each pros and cons. And you gotta, thank you, Phil.
Phil just pops up
out of the sand, like, and then he comes out and he goes, decide when it's most advantageous to use your immunity idol. Just Phil pop it up for our Amazing Race fans out there.
I think what was missed as well, like the ones I really love, is the run into the jungle, count a number of things and run back. Like I love those, like the ones where they have to dissipate into the jungle. I would have liked to see one of those. I always like them for the final ones because they feel much more epic. Like in terms of like a final immunity challenge, this didn't feel that epic to me. And I feel like in the past,
there's giant mazes.
There's been much more of a sense of this is a big, grueling, long thing, and you're really going to work hard. Or the ball drop thing. Like there's some of those that feel a bit more epic for the end. Like this felt like a pretty standard challenge.
It's pretty stock standard. But there's also ones that they've done that I really liked, is where you have to go up a really big tower and then do something, and if it's wrong, you go all the way back down and come back, because that just physically takes it out of you, just going back and forth, and that could be quite an interesting
stuff like that's good.
Fly in the ointment. The other one was I love Jeff saying there's no pride on Survivor when people were cheating. I was like, he's calling it out. Jeff knows what's there. And then Rachel, like, good on her. She awesome, like 4 times a winner. And the editors know what we like. We like seeing old footage because that's what we're talking about. They showed all the old winners. They showed the other female winners, which is great because that's when those little call outs and stuff.
Well,
like
it's
that.
a nice reminder.
Self-referencing. Yeah,
it is a nice reminder for me as well, who's sort of fallen off it a bit. And a lot of those plays I did recognize, but it is nice to see the faces. You go, that's right.
Yeah. I know. And the old grainy footage.
I know. Doesn't it look so old? I think some of it's like 20 years old now, right?
It's so funny. Yeah. And then I think the other thing is with Rach winning sort of this fourth one, it comes back to that point of if you can manage to get out your Kyles and your other people that are pretty good at challenges at the perfect point, then it does open the door for someone that is pretty well-rounded to actually win a whole bunch. But the flip side of that is then as soon as you lose, you are a target. Because you are now the top dog. If that's the narrative that you've created for your season, get rid of the people that are good at challenges. It's great until you're the last one left, and then it's like, well, now you're the target. But she did it. She managed to win. She managed to like come home strong and win those last couple.
I think as well in the fact, like Sam was also pinned as a bit of a stronger challenges, but that didn't really come true.
He didn't win any. He didn't win any. And
did he win any?
He didn't win any. So this comes back to the mentality of how they've shifted the game now. Like there's still this ingrained mentality that these alpha guys are just naturally really good at challenges.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because maybe the gameplay needs to shift now to be looking at, okay, who's good at puzzles? They're now the challenge. Yeah. They're now the challenge beasts. Yeah. They're the people that you've got to get rid of in the back end of the game because they're the ones that are going to really dominate.
If you want to have a solid 15 minutes of your own, try to work on that puzzle. You've got to get rid of those people so you've got the time to flesh it out.
And so then obviously Rachel now gets the chance to decide who goes to fire. Now, interestingly, Look, it seems to be a pretty standard thing of like, okay, I feel like I'm definitely putting Sam in fire, and Teeny, I'll help Teeny out because I think Teeny's probably got a better shot. I know she was saying about loyalty to Sue. I think Teeny probably had a better shot of making fire maybe against Sam. I haven't seen Sue make a lot of fire.
I think in that instance, it's like you reward Sue in a way that keeps Sue on side for the finale, and she's such a nice person that she's not going to try and attack you for it.
Yeah.
So,
but what happens with this is it also gives someone an opportunity to have a final moment, to have something big happen.
That's true.
So you are giving Sam the ability. So there's a school of thought that you remove that person, you rob them of having a really good moment by putting a Teeny versus Sue together, and then you don't give that to Sam, because honestly, that's the last thing. Look, it's never decided, oh my God, he beat them in fire, let's give him the win. But I think it could be something that you could take away from someone to not give them that moment.
It's a little stocking stuffer for your resume.
It is a little stocking stuffer. And then Sam was genuinely bad at fire. They all thought he's playing some 4D
That
chess
was
of like,
remarkable.
Oh, and then he's just like, no, I'm really bad.
That was so remarkable to get to. And as he literally said, everyone's like, why would you work on fire early? He's like, I don't know, baby.
I don't know, guys.
And it was such a good response of like, yeah, right now I'm really regretting that choice. But I did find his whole little emotional journey about it. But my favorite thing was him sort of breaking. My favorite thing was him breaking down. My favorite thing was that moment where he was sort of in tears and he was saying like, "I'm afraid," and all I could think of was Starship Troopers. Like, He's afraid. And the others are like, "Oh my God, we've got him!" But then
he's a brain bug, Josh. He's a brain bug.
But it was quite a nice story of him revisiting the letter and giving the motivation to go on to it.
I think that was good. Yeah, I think they did a good. And then so they brought up this jock versus nerd narrative of Teeny versus Sam, because I sort of forgot the Teeny hate for Sam. Do you remember when, like, back in those early episodes where Teeny was like, I just hate how he walks around here. And Teeny, good on them for really projecting, saying, you know what? Sam didn't have any feelings towards me or anything like that. And I just projected my school life, my college life, like insecurities onto Sam. And I can see that. And this is how I feel. And I'm like, man, for someone that's 23 years old, they are really like in tune with who they are. Like,
that's what Survivor does. Life lessons. Yeah. Jeff would be proud. Jeff is still learning from people, you know?
Jeff is always learning. The only other thing I think I agree, Rachel should not have given up immunity. That's the other thing that people do.
So I haven't really seen any where they have this vote at Ford to go to fire or anything.
So what happens, what you can do, and it's happened a couple of times, is if the main threat, right, doesn't win the final immunity, then you can choose someone to try and beat them in fire. What people have done in the past is they have backed themselves winning immunity and gone, you know what, I think I'm the only one that can beat them in fire. They've given up immunity and put themselves into fire against the main threat, giving you that last chance to get rid of the main threat. And look, I just don't think Rachel needed to do that. Rachel was the threat. So at that point, you don't need to give that up and give anyone a possibility of accidentally beating you in fire or anything like that. So she made the right call keeping it.
Yeah, I think it's hard to. Well, I think if you're Rachel looking at your game and Sam's game, I think you'd feel pretty comfortable. Like, I'm sure I can talk myself through this. Like, I don't think if they were like, say it was I think if you were really, really, really worried, or you felt like I've got absolutely no chance to convince the jury of this, that's about the only time.
Yeah,
I think. Right.
When there is someone else in the game, like, so say if Sam, okay, this scenario, say Sam's really good at fire in this bizarro world, he can make fire really well. He wins the final immunity, and he goes, Rachel's really good at fire. If I go to the end with Rachel, she'll probably definitely beat me. And so, you know what? My last big roll of the dice to make sure I win is to eliminate Rachel right now. And then you put yourself in and you take out Rachel and you get all the credit. But Rachel, I think she could have spun it to Sue or Titi, putting them in fire and saying to them, hey, I'm giving you guys an opportunity to win your way into the final, to give you something to talk about at final.
The benevolent Council. Rachel.
Yeah, I'm gifting you this, Sue, this opportunity for you to prove yourself. But then suddenly we're into final tribal council.
Let's talk about the fire challenge first.
Oh no, was that final trouble? I'm saying that's where the fire challenge happens.
Oh, is it? No, it doesn't roll on, does it?
Yeah, it's tribal council.
Isn't the final tribal council with the jury?
Oh, sorry. I meant just tribal council, the second last tribal council. So this fire was so intense. I was out of my seat for this.
Oh, it was crazy. I was like, I was shocked. I was like, no way. I was like, no way.
I had written down in my notes. I'd written down in my notes. Oh, this will give Teeny something good to talk about in Final Travel Council. Like I literally wrote that, and I was like, okay, cool, this is done.
Teeny definitely winning. Well done, Teeny.
The Survivor gods were not on Teeny's side this entire journey. Like the fact that the wind was blowing her fire away from the rope, I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it really didn't look like they did anything wrong. Like it looked like the fire was high enough. I didn't seem like it could get it to burn much higher and thicker with the resources they had, and it just seemed like it just didn't hit in the right spot. And then Sam
didn't catch. It's just I literally lost it. I was like, oh my god, poor Teeny. It was one of those things of you just going like, I was like, no,
this is not happening.
Yeah,
but I did find it. The bit where Teddy was like to Rachel, "What do I do?"
Like, I know, just not high enough.
And Rachel's like, "You've got to sort this out yourself because it's not my problem right now."
It reminded me of from Seinfeld. Help me. So then Teeny obviously doesn't get there.
Very unlucky.
Very unlucky. But ultimately, is Teeny winning against Rachel?
I don't think it changes the result at all.
I don't think it changes anything.
I think it also speaks to, I think, a trend of Teeny's game, which was like no idea what's going on. Could convince people to do stuff. And then something like this happens as well to sort of cap it off. It's like, far out, man. What are you meant to do? It
encapsulates the entire game. Jeff made a good point, though, with Teeny, saying, Teeny, you're really young and you're playing with people that are 35, 40, and you're just embracing that and you're doing your own thing. And I think they did really play a good game, but maybe just that age made it harder for them to try and corral votes.
I think so.
Get people behind them.
I think so.
Really nice little note, which I thought is really interesting. Santini said, my life, I have sidekick energy.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because when you're out there, a lot of the time you're told, guys, we want main character energy from you. So when you're having your confessionals, it's like main character energy. You are the star. Like it's all about you. And so don't go in there with sidekick energy of like, oh yeah, I'm just helping out this person. And I just thought that,
because I guess when it's filming, right, you've got no idea how it's going to play out. So they want to make sure everyone can tell that story. Yeah, because everyone might be the main character at some point.
I just don't think Teeny shouldn't be upset about like coulda, woulda, shoulda. You went out in fire. You did everything you could. You gave it. There's no trickery there. It's just bad luck. Your fire didn't go. Like that's okay. And it's not like they didn't make fire. Like they're sitting there with matches. And running out of stuff. It's like
it was a good fire. They made a good fire.
It was a pretty good fire. And then this is just a little reminder heading into the final. We've got Sue's big move reveal.
This was huge. This was big.
So big. So just in terms of fire, so obviously they brought fire in to try and help out, like, quote unquote, the favorite or the best player to have one more chance, because what was happening was a lot of those people would go out at Final Four. The three would go, this person's the best. Like it would have, if Rachel didn't win, they would have just gone, oh, we're just got to get rid of Rachel because she's the best. And they would have, and you can't do anything about it because you can't use an idol. You can't do anything. So they brought it in to try and give those people one last chance to come in. But what's happened now is it's just pushed those votes out to Caroline's and to Genevieve's, which is just pushing everything out earlier. But it does allow, if you've got enough threats in the game, it does allow them to get closer and give them that extra chance. What do you think of fire?
I think it's cool. I think it's cool because, like you're saying, it kind of becomes a foregone conclusion a lot of the time, unless you do some like Tony Wu mental trickery kind of stuff. Like that, I don't think is likely to happen much more these days. But I think it's good and it's an exciting thing. Like it is always exciting, and like you said, like it's another feather in someone's cap if they do get through. But I thought of the four we had left, I didn't think Sam was that much of a shot, but I think by the end of the episode, I thought he was a bit more of a shot. Maybe I'd gone into the episode thinking.
The other one is they did a little throwback to the rites of passage. You know, where they all sit around and they talk about.
I used to love the journey.
Comrades. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, and you walk past all the torches. Yeah. But they've still managed to incorporate it in a style.
So is that the jury drama slow-mo shot? Is that a staple now? Because that was amazing.
Do you like that?
It's so funny.
The close faces. Yeah,
it's so
it looks
funny.
really cool.
Like seeing the jury I quite liked that little let's actually, because it's so separate. It has been like, it was nice to actually hear a few words from the jury. Yeah. The only thing I did feel was it didn't really feel like their real true thoughts of like, this is what I'm doing. It felt a bit more like, hey, we've got to get this package together. Give us some teasers, give us some reasons to root for different people.
Well, they've got Teeny saying the reasons why Sam's going to win, and it's just I think they just cut everyone. They go, why is Sam going to win? Why is Sue going to win? Why is this person going to win? And then they just pull them out because you need a cross reference. You can't just have everyone saying Rachel's definitely going to win.
But it would be nice to see, because that comes through in the actual final jury chats. It would be nice to get a bit more of a sense of where the jury, like individuals, are at anyway, of like what their real thoughts are, because you do miss that. You only get a snippet of it when they actually talk.
I love the real thoughts. And so now we're at Final Tribal Council. It's here. It's all happening. It's interesting. And you know what? Straight off the bat, I'm glad we got it out of the way. I'm glad the first question, doesn't matter what question was asked, it was going to be, Sue, hey, it's actually my 59th birthday today.
Boom. And there was genuine surprise, shock and awe on the faces of everyone.
Sam was like, what?
It was almost like maybe Sue should have said that for a closing statement. Maybe she shot her one early.
Maybe go out with a bang, mate. Yeah. But it didn't seem to sway anyone. No. Didn't have any more impact there, unfortunately, for Sue. But maybe she was planning her whole game on, you know what? I honestly think at some point in the game, someone like Sue just starts to have that mentality of, you know what? I'm going to prove to back home that old people can do this. Like, I actually think it stops being about winning and it more starts being about, I'm just going to get to the end and show that I can get to the end and do that.
I think as well, for some people, it's this, maybe unwillingness is the wrong word, but an unwillingness to compromise on their morals. To be like, I'm going to be the super loyal person because that's who I'm in my life. This isn't a game, like, I don't go against those values that I hold. And then I think that becomes entrenched as like, yes, that's what I've done. And then I think mistakenly often they think others will respect that more than someone who's been a bit more deceptive.
So
I don't think
people respect.
I think people they'll congratulate you, but I don't think they give that a win, because it's kind of like, what interesting things did you do? You stuck to the plan and you went along with what was going to happen. You didn't come up with alternative plans.
What I would really like, and no one's really cracked this yet, right? If you're playing this game, I would really love, and again, it's a different combination. I think this could have been really interesting if Rachel wasn't there and Sue was there. I think Sam wins with his Final Tribal Council performance, but
you mean Teeny? Do you mean if it was Teeny, Sam?
If Teeny was there instead of Rachel? Yeah. I think that could have been really interesting. There could have been a bit of a battle. I think Sam spoke really well. And I think we can all agree Sam did have a stronger Final Tribal Council than a lot of people thought. I think he was really good.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of things that you can do in this point. And I think Sam started doing it. You've really got to turn Rachel's immunities and advantages into a negative and not a positive, and say, she was never in danger. She won it 4 times. She had an idol. She was 5 times since the merge. We couldn't get her out. Like, this is not, and she found it in the fries, and Sol gave her something.
Yeah.
And Sol gave her something. Yes, there is a relationship there, but you could have argued, you could have said, Sol just wanted to put the cat amongst the pigeons and give it to the one person that everyone was going to send home.
Yeah.
So I think that was Sam's best bet. He did that a bit, and I think that got some momentum, and that sort of threw Rachel got a little frustrated at that.
And then Sam had his stats. He ripped out his stats.
Oh, I love
the stat sheet. It was great. It was really good, because I think they're the kind of stats that you do actually, you go, oh, really? Oh, wow, that's interesting. And particularly, I thought the most interesting and most damning one to Rachel's game was about knowing where the vote's going.
Yeah,
and I think
having
that's
the worst
huge.
Voting record of everyone there.
Yeah. And to me, that is often such a strong point for these winners or people who get through, to be like, I knew everything, I voted with everything, and I knew exactly what was going on. It was interesting to have someone who seemingly had played so well in Rachel actually not have got as many votes as you thought.
So what ends up happening as well is, and this is very interesting, that it is we talk a lot about perception being reality, right? And they all made a huge mistake when they had that final 6 vote, and Rachel brought this up at Final Tribal Council, which was epic, where every single person just went around saying, Rachel's the best player here. Rachel's so good. We've got to get rid of her. And then they didn't, and then they couldn't. And that sets such a powerful narrative. There has been people, I'm thinking back to Xander, I'm thinking back to these people in the new era, that win challenges and do all this stuff, but the narrative around them becomes, oh, well, they've got no friends. They've got no power in the vote. They're not deciding anything. Let's just ignore them. It doesn't matter that they've got an idol. It doesn't matter that they're just winning challenges. You could create that narrative for someone. You could. You could go, you know what? Rachel's got no friends. Like, all she does is win challenges. Let's not worry about her vote. Let's ignore her vote and just do what we want. But because they made a conscious decision, and look, Rachel's a very good player and she's doing a lot. And I think it'd be hard to beat someone like that because she would find ways to create relationships. But it is an interesting that perception that they really put it out there and made her the biggest threat. And she said, and you didn't get rid of the biggest threat. And they were like, well, we tried to, but we couldn't.
It is always really interesting when you see someone in Sam's position. I wouldn't say grasping at straws, but like making the best case he can in very different ways. And one of the things he was like, well, I needed to pump up Rachel's tires to make her the bigger threat to take heat off me.
That was good. Yeah.
And it's just, and then like when you see that clap back moment of Rachel being like, yeah, but you did all you did was pump up my tires, and now I'm here next to you.
And now I'm here. Yeah, and now I'm the biggest target. But the other thing I thought was really funny was that everyone's desperate to be the underdog.
Oh,
I'm more underdog than you. No, I'm more underdog. I was more of an underdog. It's just such a powerful narrative.
I was 6 feet under. I was a pretty. This dog was very low.
Yeah. I was in the core, the molten core of the earth as a dog.
So where's your dog? You under that? Okay, just all right.
Yeah. And so that's everyone knows that in terms of the jury, people want to go for an underdog, but it is hard to call yourself an underdog when you are winning so many challenges and doing so things. But Sam, at the same time, I don't think he's used to being the underdog. In his life, so I think he found that difficult. It was just so funny,
and we're kind of completely discrediting Sue here. That kind of came through
much like the jury did.
Right. But because it did feel like it was kind of between Rach and Sam, and I found it interesting that there was this point, I guess, after we hit the merge, really, where their alliances sort of fell apart. They lost a few people, and it seemed like they were both kind of on the bottom, and all of Blue Tribe had power, Red Tribe. And like this narrative, it kind of was true that they both lost a lot of power in the game. But I think particularly Rachel's social game must have been really lovely to everyone and very, very, she jumped around a little bit and managed to work with people. And then as we got close to that end, she kind of corralled all those people together and had that little tight five. But it was interesting that they both almost had this similar narrative because they came from the same starting point. Hey, we lost our power in this game. Whereas it seemed like, cool, if you've got this parallel stories running, we both lost power in the game. Rachel's power then was to get some other people on board, find her way through as Sam did, but get more people behind her and around her and build better relationships. Whereas Sam's narrative was like, I lost the power and I just scraped through on the bottom every time, and I found a way and I found a way and I found a way.
I think that articulates it pretty well. I think the other thing is Rachel had more tools. Rachel had some tools that Sam didn't have. And so, because I think you've hit the nail on the head there in terms of their story narrative. Because when we come into the merge, and at that point, and then really Sierra going home in that vote was the vote that really split them apart and put them on their tracks. And that was also the vote, like just before that, Rachel had found her idol just before that, like she'd got that. So having those extra tools to make some moves and do some things, I thought Sam did really good. Sam, he was part of Operation Italy. He still had a relationship with Andy. He managed to, and they didn't have any they didn't have an idol. They made a fake idol that Sam used and things like that. And so they tried to do the best they could. But I think Rachel managed to build some relationships with the other girls that helped her move forward in the game. But also, she was never the target straight up. There was always, like, in that early point, like Sierra going home instead of Sam. It's because Sierra and Sam were close. Yeah. And they were seen as more of a target. It wasn't seen as Rachel. So not having a really diehard person coming into the merge, I think, helped Rachel a bit. But then being able to just sort of navigate through and not being that main target at the start, because that's when she could have gone home. That's really when she could have gone home.
And in terms of having these tools, I'd like to know, what are your thoughts on these tools are earned and found through hard work and they're part of the game versus I didn't have those tools and I had to work even harder because I didn't have them?
Yeah, look, I honestly think having tools and doing moves is a part of Survivor, and being able to find them and work hard at them and use them correctly. Because this is the biggest thing with Rachel, and this comes back to why Rachel won, really, in my eyes, is that she used everything she had correctly.
Yeah.
She didn't tell anyone about her idol until she absolutely needed to, and she knew who to talk to get someone on board. She gave it to Sue, and she said, Sue, I'm telling you, I've got an idol. Sue was then loyal to her, pulled her in. She didn't tell anyone else. No one knew she had it. She wasn't targeted any earlier. That's the perfect way to play it. Yeah. She played it exactly when all the votes were on her. Chef's kiss. The blocker vote, she knew she had it. Other people found out she had it, so she's like, okay, I've got to burn this at this point, and she did it again to flip the votes, which is great. And then winning those immunities when she really, really needed to. Like, there's so much there that just shows you, yeah, look, she found the clue for the idol in some chips, and that was lucky. But then again, like, she used it effectively. Someone else could have seen her.
Yeah.
She could have put it in her pants and it dropped out and everyone saw her and it was like, oh, God, but you just did everything correctly.
You're right. I think effective use really speaks to
effective use.
It's not only that they had them, it's that they had them and used them well.
I liked Andy's saying to like him and Rachel, they're like, oh, we're the biggest Survivor fans out there. And you do get a feeling everyone on the cast, like they just cast fans. They just cast people that love the show. And Teeny made a really good point about the reverence for the show and making sure that you're really like, oh my God, I love this so much. And it can get in your head. And Andy said as well in the reunion how he had such a bad start, but it's because he was overwhelmed with this thing of like, I love this show and I'm going to go home early and I'm going to ruin everything. And I can feel that. I can sympathize with that massively. Yeah. Like I definitely had moments where I was like, I just don't want to go out first. I don't want to go out first because it means a lot to you. Yeah. I loved Andy's question about dropping in the mic Holloway, which is, she's like, you don't respect his win. And like just threw it out there to Rachel. And she's like, yeah, I don't. And now, and he was trying, I think that was a softball question to sort of see if she could talk around these advantages and being able to get there and how she earns it. And I think she managed to answer that quite well. She deserved it.
Is this normal that there's the jury's like,
I was going to say, so this is the new format. This is the new jury, final tribal council vote. So obviously they used to, you all get your one question.
Yeah.
You ask it and then that's your question and I actually prefer that better. They've changed to this chirp. And Jeff, I don't know, he didn't do it as much this time, but in the past, I think it's because this time was a bit of a foregone conclusion. I think they didn't have as much to work with. But in the past, Jeff goes, okay, first up, outwit. How did you outwit? And then everyone talks. How did you outplay? How did you outlast? And then everyone talks about that. But I just like the one question. I like I'm going to ask you this.
The only thing I like is the sort of fact checking. Where like someone who was involved in something goes, well, actually, no, that didn't matter because of this. I don't mind that, but especially when that person's sitting there, they can't defend or they can't counteract that claim because they weren't there or they weren't part of it. But I would feel really, really pissed off if I'm like sitting there at the final three pitching my case and you've come up with these great, I could probably massage that a bit. And look, I could probably say that this conversation maybe went a bit differently. And they go, actually, I was there. That's not how that went. You're like, shut up, please.
Yeah, you go, no, you're not allowed to say that.
Jeff, they're not allowed to talk, right? What's going on?
So quickly wrap up all their games. So Sam puts himself out there as scrappy. He used information to his advantage. And he dropped his facts. I really liked his fact dropping.
That's huge, yeah.
Yeah, but it just didn't resonate enough with the perception of him and of Rachel.
Yeah, I think coming up against someone like Rachel who made it through, also built strong relationships, pulled together different groups of people and was part of different votes at key moments and sort of, I think, massaged the game in a way that helped her as well. So
she also dropped I snuck up on you guys and did that because she was like, no one knows I did that. That's going to be quite cool. And
the funniest thing about that was that came during the question about what was your biggest mistake? That she was like, dude, this, but also.
So, turning that into like, I think I'm too organized.
Yeah.
I think I'm too on time when I work. I'm too much of a perfectionist, people always say. But then, so Rachel had great relationship building. She used her tools perfectly. I think the snuck up on, it's always good to have something in your back pocket that no one knows about. Like, I think that's cool. But then ultimately, sometimes that doesn't work. Sue had, I'm actually 59 and loyalty that I don't think she quite nailed. Because what I would love, and I don't think we quite got this before, I would love someone in Sue's position to really make it really obvious and say, different people have different strengths in the game. Some people are good at puzzles. Some people are good at making friends. Some people are good at this. I am not as good as that, not as good as that. But you know what I am really good at? I identified where I am in the game and my abilities moving forward. And I go, you know what I can offer people? I can offer people undying loyalty. And I need to choose the right people to give that loyalty to. And I need to use that to be in the numbers and to know what's going on. And to make it really clear that loyalty is a strategy that that can actually impact the game. And it's not just, hey, this is my bond, this is my truth. You can, and no one's done this effectively, you can turn loyalty into a strategic decision and to make that really clear. And I don't think anyone ever gets that across the line.
Well, it's interesting because Gabe quite explicitly mentioned that in one of those jury snippets where he said, I want to see Sue say my loyalty's for sale and this is where I sold it and I moved it here and here. Like exactly to your point.
I am going to say this right now and interested in your thoughts of it. Kyle voted for Sam to make sure that Sam beat Sue and Sue came third. I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say it.
Well, I'm just going to say it. Sue is also still dirty on the Tweedledee.
That's what I mean.
That is a little earworm.
But there was just even little bits of animosity still there. Like Sue was just like, I would have beaten Kyle in the challenges, and Kyle's like, no, you wouldn't have.
Yeah,
she's like, and it was still there. So I think Kyle was like, you know what, I want Sam to come second.
What I found interesting in terms of like voting for Sam, I'm like that makes sense for how Kyle was playing. I think this idea of giving it up. He thought Sam gave it $1.20. So I think seeing that to be like, yeah, I like this guy who was on the bottom, and maybe he identifies with him a bit more than Rachel in terms of the position he was in. Feeling like he scraped through. But
Kyle said like Sam's changed my life. Like in the reunion, like he was literally like, Sam, he changed my life, and I'm like, I'm not sure. I think you just wanted Sue to come last. I think maybe. But is there anything else we want to talk about? Our amazing winner, like well-deserved winner, Rachel. I think
so. I think we sort of touched on most of it, the relationship building, and I think early on you got a sense that she was really switched on. And I think what was a really lovely relationship that we saw highlighted again was between her and Jen. And just a few things that Jen said that Rachel held on to a power in a way that I wish I had. And it seems like in the casting, you've got two very similar characters in Rachel and Jen. They've both played fairly similar games, but just Jen blew hers up in an irrecoverable way with the soul vote. And Rachel didn't have a moment like that, but she still had a high threat level. But I think there were just another strong social threats around her pretty much the whole way through. And then she obviously used things at key moments and key points.
I think if we just rewind, just do a really quick recap. I think she started out well. She made some alliances. So she had the breadwinner alliance with the girls at the start. I think she managed to, her threat level was built up, but she managed to survive. When she got through, they got rid of the John. Obviously, they got rid of John at the start. Then, John, we love John. And then it really flipped when Andy, Sam, and Sierra flipped on the breadwinners. Then she was in the minority. She didn't really have, and then she got swapped to the Tiana vote, where she got saved by Sol. So Sol saved her in that point. And then when she got back to everyone, then Sierra went home. And then that was the point where she'd lost sort of everything. And she really had to reinvent herself. She had to go under the radar, go, look, I've lost Annika, I've lost Sierra, and I need to sort of get through this. And then she managed to find an idol around that point, kept it secret, kept it safe. And then by the time she got the girls together, she's like, we can do this. But then the Caroline was the threat, or the Jen was the threat. Yeah. And that, like, honestly, pull one out for Caroline, because I actually think Caroline was in the best position to win this game.
Yeah.
Things had just slightly changed.
I did feel like she got pretty hard done by just the way the cards fell. It's like, I didn't see a whole lot wrong that Caroline did that put her in a position to go out when she did.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, look, good on Rachel. Well-deserved winner. Played a really, really hard game and got through at the end. So, like, congratulations to her. I think she obviously round of applause for Rachel.
What a Rachel.
Well deserved. Do we just agree that she spun and won today for the finale?
Spinning red.
Spin and win. Yes, I agree. Spin and red. Very good call.
She spin and won. And then can we say if anyone ruffled any feathers?
Well, we got to play soundbite, so
play it was to rustle feathers, ruffle feathers.
You know what it was? I think it was Seuss May with the big birthday reveal.
I think it's 59. I think the tsunami came in.
Tsunami came in.
I think they saw it on the horizon.
Rustle feathers.
And then the tsunami wave just stayed shallow. It was coming. It was big, and then it just stayed shallow.
Like hit your ankles. Went, oh, that was it.
Oh,
okay,
that was
right.
it. That was it. That was it. But yeah, overall, like, do you like those changes to the end game, the fire, and then the open council?
Yeah, I think it all made sense. Like, it all felt good in terms of the final four. I agree that it's always an exciting moment. I seem to like everything that happened. The show the darks being removed was interesting because I'd never seen those before, but then them being gone felt very normal to me. So the way the decisions were being made felt very natural in terms of like, well, we can do this and do this. You don't have to plan around it so much, which I quite like because I
actually enjoyed it. Yeah,
it removes a layer of strategy that can kind of just be, I don't know, a bit noisy.
Yeah. I think this shot in the darks are there to save people that everyone's against, but at the same time, I think it stifles some strategy because people go, well, now we just have to, we have to split the vote. We have to have one person here, and it just everyone just does the logical thing because they're worried that something's going to happen.
It did feel to me, from having watched it in a while, all the changes that have been made were really good, exciting, interesting. It got us a winner that I really liked and thought played really well, and got interesting people through to the late game and like the final. Like I really like, honestly, sort of, it was really exciting pre-merge, and then after, like the amount of people who were in, really interesting players after we got rid of maybe the first 3 at the merge or something. Really, I don't know, just great people all around, and I thought everyone played really well.
Honestly, I would have loved. I'm still hanging out for another Ghost Island finale with the 2 best players like Dom and Wendell both going head to head at the end. I would have loved to have seen a Rachel Jen final tribal council. I think that's what I'm really hanging for.
Yeah,
someone that has confidence that they can beat the person that's the other big threat. And just and having that like that 7-1. So you got the 8 in the jury. It's been a blowout a few times. Like there's a lot of 7-1s.
What happens because there used to be 9? There's 8. What happens if it's for 4-4?
Oh, if it's a 4-4, Josh. Well, then, and this is interesting. You bring this up because this is what happened at Ghost Island. So then the 0 vote finalist then gets to make the last vote.
So great.
Sue
great.
then votes. And it's only happened once, but it's pretty good.
That's great. That's really good.
Yeah, it's really exciting when it happens like that. So that's it, mate. I think we're going to have, look, we might do a couple of special little podcasts with some guests. So keep an eye out for that. But ultimately, let's hang on out for the new season of Australian Survivor, because that's going to be huge. It could be Brains versus Brawn 2, or it could be Australia versus the world. We don't know. But it's on the horizon the start of next year. So we will see what is in, and we'll catch you all back there.
Yeah. I just want to thank everyone for listening and commenting on all the videos and stuff we put up. It's been lovely sort of producing this, putting it together, and having some really nice feedback from people who are watching. So keep it coming through. Tell your mates as we kick off the next season when we fire this up fully again.
We'll do a big launch party.
Thank you, Eden. It's been lovely breaking down this season with you.
It's been great debriefing with you, Josh.
It has been great debriefing.
A Survivor debriefing.
What a great way for a show.
It is. But good job. A great season. And we'll see you next time, guys.
Thanks, folks. Bye.